Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to another CRE Chat Live podcast. I'm Casey,
And I'm Melissa.
and we just want to thank you guys again for tuning in and listening to us for the past three or four episodes. I think it's three.
Yeah, wait, yes, we've had three, and then we had one on quantum listing. So three of our own and one with quantum listing.
Right. So we just want to recap our podcast, how it's going. We want to thank you guys for staying tuned in. I know the first one was really long. We had a lot of fun doing it. We have no idea what we're doing. We know everybody's getting into podcasting right now. I think we've had one or two, maybe even three others throughout our network, our social network, that are starting their own podcasts.
Yeah. So really, this is just this is our summertime podcast. Typically, we are going to be summarizing that week's chat, the previous week's chat. But since we didn't have a chat this month, we thought, why not just do something a little fun about podcasts? So here's our Siri Chat podcast about podcasts.
Yeah, and I know we talked about on the first podcast, which was our intro one, what we were doing over in your office, Melissa, like trying to set everything up. I think we recorded it on an iPhone, like the video on an iPhone.
Yes. Yeah.
And just, we bought these microphones. Mine works sometimes. It wasn't working today. Melissa's gotten to the point where she's like, I'll just do it without the microphone. I think it works best. I don't even know if it's recording my voice right now.
Oh, yeah. Because that's funny because you bring up your voice, because on the last podcast, I was extremely loud. And then when it would switch to Casey, it'd be like, can you hear Casey?
So, and my voice would eventually start from really far away, and then it would kind of get up. So I hope you guys are able to listen to us on that podcast.
Yeah, we hope we don't have the same issue. But yeah, the microphone thing, I'm giving up on it. But I will say, Casey, you look really cool right now. You look like a radio DJ. So you look way cooler than I do. I'm just sitting here looking at the camera.
Thanks. For those of you who are listening to us, I have a nice setup. So my microphone is kind of hanging from above and kind of filtering up towards my mouth. So I'm hands-free. It's not sitting on the table. I can move it around, move further away from it. So I just use my headphones to put on.
Yeah. So that's funny because let's talk about that equipment a little bit, because when we started this podcast, we took probably, I don't know, I mean, we've been talking about a podcast forever. And so we took a lot of time just to research what we would need and talk to a lot of people and ask them about their equipment. And so the microphone you have, is that the same one that the blue, is that what it's called?
Yeah, it's the Yeti
Blue microphone. It's like what, $80-something maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a really good microphone. But user error, I couldn't figure it out. I think it's got all these settings on the front of it, and maybe 4 or so settings for sound direction. And so I think honestly, the time I used mine, of course I just, me being me, I thought I can figure this out. I didn't read the instructions, and I think I had the sound setting turned around so it was facing the camera and not my voice. And so it was like echoey and not picking me up. But yeah, talk a little bit about, it looks like you have a boom arm there, and what people can't see, there is a light shining on you, which I'm very jealous of. I switched my, yeah, Casey, she was laughing because now that you pointed out, everybody's going to see it, Casey.
Yeah.
But the light is shining on her forehead right here. But honestly, that ring light, I am pretty jealous of. A lot of people use them, and they can work really well when you have a situation where, like me, I'm facing, I'm in my conference room, and the office space is behind me, even though right now, actually, we are high up in what you call the Pinnacle building in downtown Nashville. It's a beautiful Class A building, amazing building. And we can see the Titan Stadium, which I don't know if it's reflecting here. We can see the Titan Stadium all of Broadway and downtown. And I always wanted to show that in the podcast. And up until now, I've just been sitting with our black screen in the background and the whiteboard, because I haven't been able to figure out how to get the background, downtown skyline in the background, because I'm dark. So I was always jealous of your light, but for some reason it dawned on me I could face this way and have, and the reflection off the glass doesn't create too much light, so you can still see my face. But going back to your light, a lot of video podcasters and people who do a lot of photography recommend the ring light. Can you show it to us? Where is it?
It's plugged in. It's plugged into the wall, so I can't. Okay. I can move my computer, I guess.
It's a big circle, right?
Yeah, you can not really see it in the reflection on the pictures I have behind me, but just circle ring light.
And how much was that?
$10-$20 maybe.
It's not bad at all. So you've got your, to start a podcast, if you want the right equipment, which again, I'm not using any of it right now. You need a $80 microphone. You can get a $20 ring light. The boom arm is, how much is it?
$10.
$10. So what, you're up to $110. And then if you want to wear headphones and look like a pro, then you can probably spend about $20 more. And I think actually, I don't know if you bought the kit, but I actually have the whole kit. It's like a starter kit for podcast, and it had everything in it for maybe a little over $100 on Amazon. So,
and we still don't know how to work anything. Yeah. So we have all this equipment. Somebody come visit us, tell us how to set it up. We're still figuring it out.
Yeah. But I don't know, it works. And honestly, the reason why we didn't wait till we had it all figured out is because kind of the number one piece of advice we got from everybody was just jump in feet first, just do it. So if there are kinks to work out in the beginning, everybody said, just don't wait till you have everything perfect, just do it. So I think that's pretty good advice, don't you, Casey?
Yeah, I agree. Because I don't know because I know you're really particular. You're like, well, what questions are you going to ask on this podcast? So I'm like, I don't know, Melissa. We're just going to wing it like we always do. We never really know. Luckily, with CRE Chat, we already kind of have those questions lined up. But yeah, I was like, we're just winging it. And she's like, So then she's like, well, let's do this. So I got my pen out, started writing stuff down.
All right.
Trying to plan it. But yeah, like if you just kind of wait for that perfect moment, wait till everything's perfect, it may never come. Just kind of like with some work things, you spend so much time going back and forth on edits that it may never get out the door.
Yeah, I think there's a saying for that, don't let great get in the way of good. So I think that's a really good saying. And I don't know if everybody knows their Enneagram, but I've discovered I'm a number 3. I thought I was a number 1, but I'm not like a total rule follower, so I can't be number 1. But a number 3 for me is I want everything to, I'm an achiever. I want everything to be right. So sometimes I do let great get in the way of good, and I think that's probably we probably would have 10 podcasts if it weren't for me slowing us down a little bit.
Well, yeah, so having all these technical difficulties, not knowing what the heck we are doing. I mean, I think we've done a pretty good job. I really like the snippets that you've been putting out, but I do also want to just kind of talk about CRE Chat, because that is why we have this podcast. In the CRE Chat that takes place on Twitter, our very first podcast that we did was with Kathleen, about millennials and kind of millennial stereotypes and just the conversations around that. So she was our guinea pig on our first CRE Chat video.
She was so good too. She was a natural. I almost found myself a little bit like, how come I can't be that natural? She was really good, and she knows her stuff. So it really shone through on her, kind of when we were asking her questions, on her answers. So she was a really fun first guest.
And like we said, we never prepare any questions. So sorry, Kathleen, that we threw you into all that. But luckily we had the CRE Chat questions from our Twitter chat. And she wasn't really ready to do a video. And then we're like, Kathleen, we're doing a video. And so she was like, okay, hang on. And then
I think we forgot to tell her that it wasn't just our voices being recorded. It was the actual video. And so she's like, I'm working from home today, and I didn't put on a whole lot of makeup. We're like, girl, it doesn't matter. Just hop on it, and go with the flow. It's all good. And she was such a trooper. She was just like, okay, here I am. And she did an awesome job.
Yeah, it was really fun. And just listening to her expertise among, with the millennial topics and conversations that, like you said, I was just like, whoa, like, what else is there that we may not know about millennials? And that topic was really fun just because it is trending conversation in commercial real estate and just in all aspects of really any category.
Yeah, it is. And actually it's funny because when we were recording the podcast, I mean, I don't know if you get like this, but, and maybe a lot of podcasters say this, but especially because it was one of our first ones with a guest, or it was our first one with a guest, I forgot the whole conversation when it was over. I forgot about it. So when you posted it, Casey, on YouTube, I was like, okay, I'm going to have to go back and listen to this, especially because I was pulling snippets out of it. But I don't know if you find this, and I don't know if other podcasters are like that, but typically I don't like to go back and listen to myself. Like, I don't like to hear my voice. I don't like to see my face. So I don't know about you, but that was interesting to go back and actually watch myself on the video and watch us interacting with Kathleen. But I've gotten more used to it now. And, you know, to me, it's more like, hey, how do I find this great snippet and how do I put it out there? Because really it's not about us. The reason why we started Siri Chat it was never about starting some brand or podcast or anything like that. It was just more about sharing information with the community of people and gleaning information from them. So when you think about it, it's really not about us and how we look on the video. It's about the information that we're sharing and getting out there.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And really the video, it just wasn't really what we had in mind or what we set out to do. It was, everybody was, where can I listen to CRE Chat? And we didn't have an answer. We were stuck. We're like, well, if you have a Twitter account, can you participate in this CRE Chat? So we needed a new way to have more people involved in this conversation.
Yeah. And honestly, I think, and we wanted to not only have more ways, but actually have all different types of mediums to get the message out there. So we thought some people prefer video. We see a lot of I know we see a lot of video on LinkedIn. So, you know, some people prefer the video version of a podcast. Some people like to listen in their car. Some people watch on their phone if they're multitasking, or I think somebody just walked by.
Yeah. And we actually can see that information, how you guys are listening. A lot of it is through Apple Podcasts. So whether you're playing it through your Bluetooth in your car, listening to it on your AirPods, and we see if you're listening through a web service. I think YouTube's a little bit harder to find us, but our Anchor FM website definitely kind of lets you download our podcast on Spotify or on phone, so mobile or tablet or even a computer. It tells us how you guys are listening. So sometimes it's hard. Go ahead.
What's the number one way people tune in?
Apple Podcasts.
Podcasts is the number one way.
Mm-hmm. So it's you know, we continually are going back to that website and seeing the best ways that we can have you guys listen and tune in. But if you also have any other feedback, you see our posts on Twitter or LinkedIn or YouTube, just shoot us a message and just let us know, because we don't know what we're doing. We're going off of what other people are kind of saying and suggesting. Oh, which reminds me, Melissa, we have some ideas for the upcoming podcasts.
Oh yeah? What are they?
So we're going to kind of break up our voice a little bit so you don't have to listen to a full hour or full 40 minutes of us.
Oh, yes. Okay. I know what you're referring to. It's the acronym of it's not the day, I guess. The acronym of the week or month or
podcast or
acronym of, we'll come up with what to call it. But it's so funny. We were cracking up one day because we came up with this idea. Casey is brilliant. She comes up with a lot of these ideas, and she's like, man, we should come up with this acronym thing. It's funny, in CRE, which is also an acronym for commercial real estate, we use so many acronyms. We shorten everything. Everything somehow turns into an acronym. So we started making a list, and I think we probably have 40 things.
We have enough to last us about 3 or 5 years.
So yeah, that'll be really fun because, you know, and when I'm talking to normal people who don't work in the business, I throw out, you know, LOI or RFP or even sometimes I forget, we'll have a new client who maybe he's not gone through the process. Maybe he's doing their first time lease or their first time purchase. And so I catch myself not, you know, running through the term or saying, we got to get this RFP. This is the first step. And then they're like, what does that mean? What's an RFP? Oh, okay. Yeah. I need to explain a little bit more. So that's really fun. I think that'll be a little fun, like, segment that we can throw into our podcast. And So, and I know a lot of Siri people can relate. We love our little acronyms, so it'll be good.
So many. What do you find the funniest moment to be of our podcast?
In the podcast, honestly, I think it's stuff that people don't see.
We're not very funny. We're kind of serious on our podcast.
I know. I think we need to be funnier somehow. Because
You're really funny.
What? I swear when I talk to you in real life, we're always cracking up about something, but I'm not sure if it's podcast worthy or podcast friendly. But honestly, I will say, I thought it was hilarious when we did our first one. And again, we were winging it, and we were pretending like, again, didn't record it on the reason why we recorded it on a phone was because we couldn't get the video on my work laptop to work. And then I didn't bring the charger, I think, for my Apple, so it was dead. And then why wouldn't yours work?
We also didn't have the adapter for the microphone for the computer.
That's what it was. Yes.
Then after I left your office, guess what I find in my backpack?
It was in there.
The adapter.
Yeah. So go figure. But the phone was fine. It worked out. It was great. And we did it. But we pretended like the microphones were working. They obviously weren't. So there was, in that first podcast, I think it was easier to watch than to listen to, because if you're listening to it, because as you can see in the background here, there's a lot of hard surfaces in my office. So it was very echoey, I thought. It almost sounded like we were in a tunnel, but I don't know. We took the advice and we went with it, and we put it out there. We didn't strive for, perfection.
Yeah.
I think probably one of the reasons what's so fun about being on podcasts is you get to show your true personality. So if everything was polished and perfected, I'm not sure that would be us anyhow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, we've only been doing like 3 of these podcasts, right? And so, but we took July off of our CRE chat on Twitter. So that's kind of where this video and podcast is coming from, is just us kind of talking about the past few podcasts we have. We've only had Kathleen, we've only had 1 guest on. So hopefully by the next one, which is this week, August 22nd on Thursday, we'll have it kind of more ready. And do you want to tell them who our host is and what our topic is for our Thursday CRE chat?
Well, you can tell them, Casey. I know, since you're alluding to it.
No, you got it.
I don't know. Maybe we'll keep it a secret, because I know we'll be pushing it out, and I don't know when this video is going to be going out. So
true. It'll go out on first of the week. So you guys are probably listening to us on a Monday.
And that's funny. You talking about when it'll go out. Remember we recorded the first one. We're like, we'll have it out this day, and we announced our next podcast. And I think that was like one of the lessons we learned, or announce our next Siri chat, because we didn't end up pushing it out because it's the first time we'd ever done it. It ended up getting pushed out after that month's Siri chat, and we had like spent the whole tail end of the podcast announcing the Siri chat. And by the time it got published online, the Siri chat had already happened, and then we were on the podcast announcing a Siri chat that was a week prior. So one thing I did learn is, like, do not talk dates on these things, especially because honestly the podcast, they live on, and so it's kind of almost a little bit pointless, I guess, because we're not like a live radio show to talk about upcoming events and dates, etc. I will say, switching back, I know you probably have like an embarrassing moment, or maybe you don't, but and I never talked to you about this, but the last
so this is going to be a surprise. Yes. What am I about to hear? What are we about to hear?
The last podcast, oh my gosh, we were, and it was on the snippet. So everybody who like goes back and listens to the snippet from the Summertime Slump podcast, I have this ring right here. So I'm like, I have rings on both hands, and the computer was on the desk, like I had to move the computer back, but I kept going like, I don't know, I kept like hitting the desk. And so I was like, what is that noise? When I listened to, I didn't even notice I was doing it. So I bet I hit the table, I don't know, 20 times during that 2-minute snippet. And I'm like, oh my goodness, that is not going to happen again. So if you could see me like below where my hands are, they are like perfectly in my lap. They are not hitting anything. I'm sure I'll notice another tick when I watch this again, but I was so embarrassed by it.
What? Why? There's no reason to be embarrassed.
Well, I just thought like that noise, especially for people listening and not watching. I mean, you could like in the video, you could see my hand just hitting the table, because I was very emphatic about what I was talking about. You kept hearing that knocking noise. So yeah, learn as you go, I guess.
Yeah.
Learn from mistakes.
That's fun.
Always be learning, right, Casey?
Yeah.
ABL, another acronym.
I have noticed that before. I don't know if you'll ever stop.
What?
I don't know if I've heard it today though, but
my hands are in my lap. Yeah, so you're not going to hear it from me today. I'm going to be doing something else ticky, I'm sure, but not with my hands.
I don't know. I think we might hear it on our next podcast. We'll see.
Yeah.
Because our podcasts are pretty straight. And it's hard to kind of, for me, definitely to kind of loosen up on these videos. I know it might seem like I come across as a natural, but really, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm like constantly looking at my hair, like what's sticking out of place. I got these dark spots on my face that I try to hide in the video, so I don't like that coming across in the video. Just some things like that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's hard.
I don't know which one it was, but I had a hair that was like, my hair's not great today. I put it back in a ponytail, not on purpose. It was just a mess. But I remember when I had that one of the podcasts, of course, I had that white wall behind me, so you could see every stray hair. And so every time I would turn my head, there was like stray hair sticking out. And I thought, oh my goodness, that is so unprofessional. That does not look good. So it's funny how hypercritical we are of ourselves. And, but really probably most people don't notice, I hope. But now we're pointing out everything. Everybody's going to go back and notice.
Yeah. If you see anything, you can either let it go or let us know, because then we'll laugh about it later like we are right now.
Yeah. But yeah, it's fun. And,
Well, something else that's a little bit funny is we had this summertime slump topic for CRE chat on Twitter. And then when we did our podcast about it, I swear it was like a week later that there was no downtime. It just got so busy like a week or two after that. I'm like, what summertime slump? Like, what just existed?
Oh, you are so right. As a matter of fact, Casey and I, typically we talk at least like 3 times a week. And it's like 2 days ago, Casey goes, "Are you mad at me, Melissa? We have not talked." And you're exactly right. I said, "Casey, I've just been so busy. It's been nonstop." And you are so right. After that podcast and after that Siri chat, everything just took off. It was crazy. It was just full speed ahead on a lot of the stuff I was working on. So maybe it was a good thing to have that, maybe that was kind of like worked some good juju and got us busy again or something.
Yeah, it was really fun. I was like legit like, is there something I said that somehow in some sort of way got back to her and she's mad at me? What could I have possibly had said? And she's like, I like messaged her on Instagram, like just in case, like, are you mad at me?
I said, no, you would know. Yeah. She said she thought she missed my birthday and she thought I was so mad about it.
Well, it's coming up. It might be today when this is posted.
Don't say the date. No.
We don't know when this is coming out, so. But I'm sure you'll see when Melissa's birthday is.
Yeah. Well, speaking of birthdays, this has nothing to do with the podcast, but my favorite thing about having a birthday on social media is all the messages you get. And I'm not talking about Facebook, because the Facebook ones, honestly, for some reason, maybe this is why I'm so happy about birthdays on social media, because my Facebook account for the longest time, somehow on my privacy settings, I had it where it wouldn't tell anybody my birthday. So it was like where all my friends, when it's their birthday, they would get hundreds of messages. My Facebook page would be like the 2 people in my life that actually remembered my birthday. And that would be it. Like I'd have 2 messages, happy birthday. So I think that setting's fixed now. So if you're my Facebook friend, feel free to wish me happy birthday anytime. It makes me happy no matter what day it is. But LinkedIn does a really good job, I will say, of telling people when it's your birthday. And it's a really good reason to reach out to somebody. So if you're connected and if you're connected on LinkedIn with somebody you're prospecting or you're trying to create a relationship with, what a great excuse to message them. But I tell you what, last year on my birthday, I probably got like 50 or 60 LinkedIn in-mail messages that weren't posted. where everybody could see. But I loved them, and it took me almost all day to respond to them. So that's a LinkedIn tip that you should definitely use. If you're on LinkedIn, look at your notifications. LinkedIn will send you a notification first thing in the morning and tell you when it's somebody's birthday.
You know what's funny is on Facebook, I actually turned off my birthday thing so it wouldn't alert people, so I would know who my real friends are, not somebody who is like obligated to say happy birthday. And now I get no happy birthdays on Facebook.
Well, at least you did it on purpose. Mine was not on purpose, and it made me really sad. I was like, nobody knows my birthday.
And you just said you weren't going to be mad if I did forget your birthday.
No, I still am not mad. It just I get sad because I was like, I saw everybody else around me on Facebook getting all these messages, and it made me sad that I couldn't get any, and I couldn't figure out how to for some reason. Probably because I'm not a millennial, and I'm losing my technical edge here.
Yeah, we don't know how to work these Yeti microphones for our podcast.
Right. I do find myself, back to that millennial podcast. I mean, I used to be.
There's Shelby.
Shelby's in the video. You're on my podcast. There's Shelby Hall, the infamous Shelby Hall.
We knew that was going to happen.
Yeah. So it's like I told Casey, I'm like, I'm going to do this newsroom style. I'm just going to let people walk by, and it'll be cool. But and people are like photobombing the podcast right now if you're watching the video. And I just lost my train of thought. I have no idea what I was talking about. What was I talking about?
I don't know. He distracted me too.
Yeah. So, and that's another thing that's so funny is there have been, I swear, every podcast, there will be one where I'm talking and talking and talking, and I get so lost in what I'm talking about that I forget I've totally forgotten what I'm talking about. And I did that on a webinar. I know you caught it. You saw it. I don't know if a lot of people saw it. It was that one that was like the 10 years of CRE, social, whatever. And I was like on the podcast, and I was tossed a question. It was a great question. And I started answering it, and then I was like, what? Yeah, like, and I couldn't ask, what was your question again? Because I had sat there and answered it for like 3 minutes. I had gone on and on. And so I think I eventually just like, basically I was in mid-sentence. I'm like, oh yeah, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
nodding.
It's hard to kind of train your brain, and because you start trying to explain, and then you go off on this other tunnel or this other road, and then you just have to come back, and sometimes it's hard to find your way back.
It's hard to bring yourself back sometimes. So,
but I love how you have a lovely view in the background, and I'm here with like white walls and like funny pictures that I do actually want to explain. So I have Las Vegas. I feel like you need
a Nashville picture up there.
Yeah, I'll have to get Nashville. Well, maybe Murfreesboro, since that's where I went to college. But Las Vegas is where my boyfriend went to college. And then, of course, I have Memphis on this side. And then behind me, I have Sao Paulo from Brazil, because my boyfriend lives there and is from Brazil. So those are the three that I have. I do want to add more, though.
And then your best friend and your CRE chat partner in crime is in Nashville. So then you need a Nashville one, right?
Yeah. We'll get a CRE chat banner, too, to go behind us on these, maybe.
Eventually, we'll be pretty, like, cool and have all the stuff. I know I've seen, talking about recent podcasts, it's interesting. A lot of people have jumped on the podcast train, haven't they? I know probably 3 or 4 people since when we launched ours that have actually started podcasts, which is really exciting. I really think this community of people in commercial real estate is evolving, and what's difficult in this business is there's not a manual or book, or I guess there are degrees you can get in real estate now, but a lot of us, we learn by doing, and we learn from others. We learn from mentors. So, that's one reason why we think CRE chat's so important. But what's so exciting is, and why I think we really kind of latch onto podcasts in our business, is because it's a great way for us to be learning, and because the business changes so quickly, right? I mean, even if you did write a manual, it'd be totally different the next year, right? Maybe totally different in 6 months. So I think it's really cool that a lot of these people are doing podcasts. And I think one reason why they've been so successful and why people want to listen is because we're always, to be successful in this industry, you have to be listening, and you have to be constant. That ABL, always be learning. You always have to be learning. So it's really exciting to see all these people jumping on podcasts and sharing information within the community and outside of the community. So I'm super pumped to add a few of the subscribe to a few of the new podcasts, and really cool.
Yeah, and thank you guys for sticking with us during this learning curve of podcasting.
Thank you. Yeah, for bearing with us. I know my partner said, it was a little rough in the beginning. It gets better. And I even think from the beginning of when we start to record the podcast to towards the end, we get more comfortable with it, and we're a little bit better towards the end of the podcast. So if you're listening and you're on the first 5 minutes, you're like, wow, this is really rough. Just hang in there with us. It gets better.
Hang in there or skip ahead.
Yeah, just fast forward 5 more minutes and then it'll get really good. If we weren't recording this during lunch, I definitely would have a glass of rosé too. So on some podcasts, I think that would be really fun to be like Kathy Lee and Hoda, and that's how we do our Siri chat. So that's random. See, and we can't cut this stuff out. So now I just said something stupid, and
we don't go back and edit these videos. So everything you're listening to is raw, edited. So again, that's kind of why we're apologizing, because we just go off, come back, talk about wine, everything.
Yeah.
We try to have a standard when we have our guests on, but we've only had one guest, so we'll see how the next one goes.
Yeah, the next one should be really good. I'll say the topic. It's about personal branding, so which is something near and dear to our hearts. So that's going to be something really exciting, and I think our guests will have a lot to say about that.
Yep. So I guess that wraps up our random July. No, it's August. It's August now, the end of August, just about. So, well, we didn't have a CRE chat on Twitter in July. So this is kind of following up to the month that we took off.
Yeah. So I hope you've enjoyed it. It's been a quick little, I think it's been quick. How long have we been on here? That's another thing.
I don't know. I tried looking. The video cuts off at 40 minutes.
Okay. So we haven't been 40 minutes.
I don't think so.
Oh, see, I made another noise. I snapped my notebook. So yeah. I made a noise. Sorry, it's my fidgety hands. But so it's been great, and looking forward to the next one, which we'll be recording here in probably another week and a half. So we appreciate everybody tuning in, and welcome your comments and your feedback. And if you have some ideas about topics for our next upcoming Siri chats, we are all ears.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Have a good week, and tune in to CRE chat. Thursdays once a month at 7:30 p.m. Central. If you have any questions, you can tweet at CRE Chat Live on Twitter, or you know how to find me on Twitter. It's at Flann, FLANN, KCCASEY.
And I am at MB Alexan. That's M as in Melissa, B as in boy, Alexan.
All right, guys. Thank you, and thanks for bearing with us as we get this podcast up and going.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.